So I'll leave the NDP convention to liberal and conservative voters who are interested in the easy dunks that come from picking on the mentally ill, since that appears to be what the NDP is about now. Instead, I will focus on something much more relevant to me, maybe not to Canada, but definitely to my chosen line of entertainment, which is the comedy of Druski and the downfall of TP USA, as in what happens when you just assume that widow status lasts forever. March 29th, 2026, and yeah, it would be too easy to dunk on the NDP all day long here. That video would basically make itself, and it'd be a lot of fun. But again, like I said, that doesn't serve the conservative purpose of splitting the Liberal Party into a proper size that it's supposed to be by having that middle ground, that orange party sitting there that all the mentally ill people can enter. And really what you want is for the NDP to become not just the land of the severely mentally ill, but also the mildly mentally ill and the low production human beings. You want all of them in there because those top two tiers really ended up in the Liberal Party now, which is why they won the last election. So the bigger the NDP party is, the better off we are. So we're not going to focus on it. However, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the comedy of Druski, but he did something that I didn't think possible. He broke the hymen on making fun of Erika Kirk.
War is raging in Iran.
We're praying for all the soldiers and troops.
That's great that you're praying, but
how about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart. That is the
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve a righteous God. And that is why we say our prayers. And we are all his children. But when I say children, I mean like the holy, blessed Trinity, which is why I hold the Bible.
Sweet cream foam chai ice matcha. And Bella will have all organic popcorn. Yes, everything organic.
I think this is the best impression of Mark Carney I've ever seen Erika Kirk do.
4, 3, 7. Oh, Hannah, you good? 4, 3, 2. Hold your chest lifted. We're gonna lift.
We have to protect all men in America, especially all white men in America.
She also does a pretty solid Jamil Giovanni.
Those are the boys that we care about in this country. America is built on their backs. Yes, because they are the ones who mattered most.
Now, your first challenge while criticizing this particular comedy skit is to find me the lie. Find me the thing that Druski did wrong here. Find me how Erika Kirk or any white woman currently existing in America or Canada was misrepresented in this video. Please, find me the flaw in his representation of just how ridiculous the entire media ecosphere has become. Come on. Tell me exactly what he misrepresented, because I don't see it. Now, in case you can't tell the fake Erika from the real Erika, that someone has been kind enough to give us a side-by-side image, just so you can see the difference. This is Erika. This is the real Erika, just so we're clear. Going a little long here, Erika. Oh, and there is Druski. Now, I wouldn't blame you if you had trouble telling the difference, but if you could tell the difference, then good news, you are light years ahead of Grok, who swore up and down for post after post after post that Druski was actually Erika Kirk. I mean, Elon, what are we doing here? Of course, Erika Kirk came out with the response that surprised no one, having an exact problem with being made fun of in such a way. Druski, this is sick. You fully dressed up as me, copied my look, my voice, my mannerisms, and turned me into a joke for millions of people. But let me guess, when it's done to me, it's suddenly comedy. If I did anything even remotely comparable, y'all be trying to ruin my life. This is racist, humiliating, and you know exactly what you're doing. Correct, he does. He's a comedian. This is what he does. He takes things that look a little weird and he makes them into things that are a little more digestible for an audience that enjoys the kind of comedy that comes with being obviously performative on a conservative platform. Yes, especially on one like TPSA, which so many people respected and very few do now. Come on, Erika. Druski did you a favor. Take the hint. The skit that Druski created was called How Conservative Women Act, and it landed very hard online. Not many people disliked it, although a lot of people could performed as if they disliked it for their audience, just to make sure that everybody knew they were how offended they were that somebody was making fun of everyone's sacred widow. But the reality of this situation is that most people understood the skit. See, what Druski was doing is he was pointing out that TPUSA had gone from a very complex, very talented, very good, very identified, very realistic platform and had turned itself into a attention farm for a generic white woman and all of her friends. And so a lot of generic white women found this very offensive. Of course, the reason that generic conservative white woman finds this offensive is because it was very important to them that you, as the audience, see Erika Kirk as something special. And if you didn't, then at least she had the widow shield to stop you from pointing out that maybe there's not anything real special about this. The problem being that when a black man comes out and makes a comedy skit about a generic white woman and it happens to look like Erika Kirk and make fun of TPUSA a little bit, that breaks the illusion that there is anything special about Erika Kirk, which puts generic white women in a very difficult position because now they have to be something special and that's very hard for them. So thank you to Druski for doing the hard work, doing the heavy lifting, and lifting that shield because I think the veil has torn. Anyways, moving on. Slide a little bit. Let's talk about the NDP race just a little bit. A.B. Lewis did come out on top. He is apparently a former reporter for Al Jazeera and now will be leading the NDP into the next, well, who knows how long. But it's a very odd match considering what was going on in the NDP party for him to come from a place like Al Jazeera with that kind of background, considering who he will be leading. Well, let's look into that real quick. Oh, yes, and in case you were wondering, that is indeed a Palestinian flag waving in the background with not a Canadian flag anywhere to be seen. All this makes much more sense after you see that.
I'd probably get 10 years in jail for making this video in Canada because I'm about to make fun of a bunch of degenerate dumbasses called the NDP party, which is the third largest party in Canada. Yeah, the NDP, the New Democratic Party, they had a convention and it was like a convention of the Olympics of the most degenerate losers I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. Let me just show you.
It's a point of, go ahead. It's like a point of privilege. The microphones seem really
The point of privilege thing is just amazing.
low today. It's hard to hear everyone at the mic. Between the background noise and the volume in here with the microphones, it's really hard to hear. And the closed captioning also is slower to make it hard to keep up with what's going on.
Thank you, Delegate. I have a hearing impairment and I'm struggling to hear the delegates, and I know that you...
I mean, I would never have known this person had a hearing impairment unless they told me, because it looks like her receivers are just fine. Or their receiver. Their receivers, I apologize, their receivers are just fine.
Let's have some order. We'll hear from the delegate on microphone 1, please.
I'm pretty sure Dumbo can hear colors from space. What? Also, whatever that thing is, it's a they-them. The they-them Hitler. I love that little Hitler cut. You know what? It's like the Nazi party, but with just rainbow colors. But let's keep going.
She, her, elle, and en français. It's going to be really hard to follow Rob Ashton. Amazing speaker.
This one appears to be wearing a bath towel or a comforter as a, what is that, a robe?
We are a working class party. I think
The good news is they've got a shower ring through their nose, so we know that they're at least clean.
most of us in this room are behind that, and while we can debate on the specific words and who is and isn't included, I think our Constitution needs to recognize that. And I also recognize there is, I'm sorry, I'm speaking way too fast. Let me slow down for the closed captioning. I'm so sorry, I get excited.
It's a point of privilege. The closed captions for this convention are running between 6 and 10 seconds behind. So it's just a request for the chairpersons to be aware, and that when you move to a vote, I'm still reading the debate.
If the closed captions are 6 to 10 seconds behind, not only is that normal, maybe make your words make sense so the people doing the closed captioning can understand what the words you're intending to use are. It's not the technology.
So if we could just take a little pause, that would be appreciated. Okay.
Did you see the? Because they're not allowed to clap.
Mm.
Because there's too many people, sensitive feelings, ears.
Because loud noises are triggering. I mean, we've established this. They're very sensitive to stimulation.
Did you see how he said chairpersons? Because we're not allowed to say, chairman or chairwoman, because that gets you in jail. These are the degenerates that are now holding on.
I'm going to point out to the government of Canada, I didn't say it, she said it. She said it, she's the one who said it. She's the one who said it. Don't look at me, I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger.
To the Canadian, politicians. And this is what it's like living there. But it keeps getting better. Wait till they start calling each other comrades.
Yes, bonjour, hi. My name is Parker Tian. I'm representing Vancouver Quadra. Just to reply my Franco of comrades point of privilege earlier, as you can see, I do have one of the translating device. However, I'd like to raise this to the chair's concern that the sign-out process for this device is not necessarily the best.
We are so cooked. We are so cooked. Buddy went on to say that there's not enough pens and it was really hard to sign out a translator device and fuck me.
Now, unlike generic-based conservative girl number one over here on TikTok, I'm not so concerned with the NDP party because they are basically a fraction of what they were. Most of the crazy people who stayed on the NDP simply could not afford to vote Liberal, which is why they didn't move over. But the point we're making here is that maybe with A.V. Lewis in charge, they can turn around and get a few more, not so insane people involved in the party and maybe bring it back from the dead, which would be great for the Conservative Party because if that happened, then some of those liberal people who don't actually want to be liberal could go back and be part of that ecosphere, which would be fantastic. We need the NDP to grow its base. And, I know that clips like this aren't really going to help with that. I'm not sure why that's my problem. In fact, it's probably better that I promote that A.V. Lewis, maybe even though he's coming from a weird space and waves weird flags, is maybe a better choice than Jagmeet Singh. At least 3% better, right? In fact, one way to make sure that you're having your voice heard in a political party is to create a hierarchy of privilege that allows you to skip the line as long as you have enough disability, something the NDP has been very successful at doing. For example,
Thank you, Delegate. There's a point of privilege
those ears really are something special, aren't they?
on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, Delegate.
Yes. Hello. I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Did you miss your spot? Oh, victimized again. You're a poor Kiefer.
That's my point of privilege that I would like to raise.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation. You can move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro.
Oh, interrupt. Yep, interrupt the explanation. Yep, that's the only possible way around this.
That I was...
We went
You went pro, con.
We went
The way they're dressed will make sense in just a second. Bear with me.
pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at Con Mic 3 also has a speaking card.
Yesterday, this card was used in an
Notice the different color card. It'll make sense in a moment.
inappropriate matter. And while I understand in Ontario we note this as equity, even if that, this was also used inappropriately in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself.
By inappropriately, she means that a white man was able to use one. This is very offensive, and once again, you will understand why in just a moment.
Who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
Now, the reason those cards have no value outside this space is because those cards are specifically developed for the NDP party to decide who gets to move to the front of the line when it comes to the question and answer debate period of the convention when there is a leadership race going on. So she's correct when she says that this card has no value outside of this space, and that's usually because the person holding the highest level card has the least merit outside of this space. And without that card, it's just a generic NDP voter. Notice the word generic makes its way into this a lot. Now, if you're wondering how the NDP decides on the ranks of who should speak first, who is the most victimhood, and who has the best disabilities, well, luckily Marty up north has discovered the exact scoring system they use on their website. So here is part of the official scoring system for the equity cards. Being a hearing impaired transracialized woman with a learning disability is 10 points. That explains the person on who is the chair. Mobility challenged transracialized man with a medium IQ, 7 points. White trans woman wearing a kefir, 6 points. Black women, this is why you see so many of them wearing that weird little scarf thing. That's 6 points. Black woman with an eating disorder, that's 5 points. There's your fatties. Racialized man with a low IQ, 4 points. I guess you could be skinny too. You don't have to be fat. You could also be skinny. And eating disorders really go both ways. Young white woman with red hair, older white woman with a mobility scooter, 2 points. Young racialized cis males with BLM tattoos, 2 points. And older white male with PTSD and hearing aid, 1 point. Middle-aged cis white males without a job, 1 point. And working white males with a high IQ, 0 points. This might be the most discriminatory party I've ever seen. So basically, in order to be literally a card-carrying member of the NDP with the highest tier of respect within the group, you have to be as disabled, as oppressed, and as mentally ill as humanly possible. They just elevate everyone who has the most incapable one in the group will always lead it, at least in question period. Maybe this is to get the most ridiculous questions out of the way first so that they can have the best questions at the end. But I have yet to see anybody with a good question stand up at the NDP meetings and ask something that makes any sense. And again, that's likely because most of their smart people moved to the Liberals. Smart Liberals. The NDP needs you. Lest it fade into irrelevance, which I'm also fine with. But if you're not, so if you're outside of Canada and you're watching this, yes, this is what one of our political parties calls the productive members of society. Remember that the NDP is the party of the working class, or that's how they classify themselves. We might be the reason AI was invented. So yes, this party does exist. The people within the party do exist. What you are seeing in Canada is real. Luckily, we've been able to contain it to a single conference hall. Then if you locked the doors, the IQ of this country would go up by at least 3 points. However, we do not have the political or social will to do that because good ideas are hard to implement here in this country. Moving on. Well, not quite yet. We got one more thing here.
Microphone 2, are you on this resolution?
Yes.
Microphone 2, please.
My name is Mastura Tasneem. My pronouns are she, they. I'm from Ontario.
She's a Shia. She wasn't supposed to say that, but she is.
Hello, bonjour. As we conduct this convention today and the past 2 days. Right now, there's discussions of 10,000 American men and women being sent to Iran,
Yes, but we're in Canada.
being deployed just to be part of this bloodbath.
Bloodbath for who? Did you know there's only been like 15 American soldiers killed, and most of the Israelis who've died have been civilians that Iran's killed with missiles? Who's getting the bloodbath?
Canada cannot and will not be part
Will not. Interesting.
of the legacy of blood that was built in Iraq, in Palestine, and now in Iran.
I don't know why she thinks she gets a say.
This is a no-question debate.
That kind of goes against what a debate actually is. And oh, by the way, watch the chair's response.
I call this question, Madam and Chairs. Thank you.
Your point's quite well made.
It wasn't, but okay.
Speaker, I'll again thank delegates not to call me Madam Chair.
Ooh, the Shia misgendered the non-binary chair. Watch the inversion of power.
Madame la Présidente, I'm a non-binary person. My pronouns are they, them, and their. Chair is sufficient.
There you go. Wild. Only in Canada.
And with regret, you've spoken to the resolution. It's not open to you to also call the question.
Correct.
If the question is the will of the House, someone else must call it because we heard from you in substantive debate.
Okay, I was not aware. I was
weird rule.
Yeah, a weird rule. That's all that exists in these spaces. Weird rules. Even when they make sense, they're kind of weird. This is one of those situations where I always wonder if the chair knows who they're talking to and how differently this conversation could have gone if it was done in any country other than this one.
Third, we're not shy about saying the loud part out loud. We're not burying our politics in platitudes. We're communicating with straight talk grounded in moral clarity.
When Israel commits a genocide in Gaza, we call them out.
Start an illegal and reprehensible war against Iran that sets the world on fire. We say Canada should have absolutely no role in it whatsoever.
We're going to have to agree to disagree. Anything that affects Canada on a global scale needs to be addressed by Canada with the help of whoever we can get. And as long as we are part of NATO and expect America to fund that, we should probably help them take care of their issues as well, since they're 70% of the NATO funding that apparently we use to keep us safe instead of having our own army. All of these things make it very important that when Iran or anybody else decides that they're going to say things like death to the West or attempt to, create propaganda or import their problems to our country, we should probably say, yeah, you're not going to do that by whatever means necessary, using whatever tools are at our disposal to do so. So this message from Avi Lewis will probably appeal to enough Liberal voters to get them to stop voting Liberal and start voting NDP, but I'm going to say that there's a reason the NDP is irrelevant now, and this is likely one of the reasons why.
And to be proactive, we're also announcing today the launch of Task Force Guardian. We know that visible police presence matters when it comes to deterring violence and reassuring our communities.
He's not talking about visible police presence. He's talking about, we're talking about SWAT teams, visible.
As part of Task Force Guardian, Torontonians can expect to see Toronto police officers deployed with tactical capabilities, including patrol rifles. If you see these officers, whether it's around places of worship or tourist hubs, it does not mean there's an imminent threat.
Right, they're just stopping the things they don't think are going to happen, because nothing's wrong, guys. They're just deploying fully kitted out SWAT teams for no reason. There's nothing to worry about. Right, Avi? right? Because this has nothing to do with the IRGC, right? Doesn't affect us at all.
What it means is we are strategically positioning resources to protect our communities and to be able to respond quickly if necessary. These measures are informed by best practices and lessons learned from our partners around the world.
Like, for instance, Saudi Arabia and Israel. Avi Lewis, are you listening? They got this from Israel and Saudi Arabia and Turkey, all the places that, Iran harasses all the time.
Toronto is the largest and most complex city in the country. It is Canada's financial and cultural hub, home to major professional sports teams and world-class events. It is our job to do everything we can to keep it safe, and this is exactly what we'll continue to do.
Now, this isn't Toronto, but this is the kind of thing that they're preparing for. This is the kind of thing they're hoping to not have to do. But would you really be surprised at this point in time if it happened? Because I wouldn't be. I mean, really, at this point, if you have any lack of confidence in America's ability to end this war in a beneficial way for North America, I don't know what else to tell you. You can measure, people measure the start of the Iran war by the number of Ayatollahs that have been killed. Like, this war started 6 Ayatollahs ago. To the point where they're so afraid to put the new one out, they used a cardboard cutout of the next one because they didn't want to put him out in public. I mean, we know now that he was dead, most likely because he was gay. But listen, this is, I don't know how. I mean, yeah, it's messy. Yeah, the ground forces haven't gone in yet. Yeah, there's still stuff to accomplish. But forever, that's not the point. And in fact, the U.S. has already got eight tankers full of oil from the new leaders who used it as a sign of good faith to show that that was the person you were supposed to negotiate with. I don't know anybody who gives up 8 tankers of oil for nothing unless they're really serious about getting a deal done. Come on now. And then you had Turkey, Saudi Arabia, all these other countries joining in on the fun. Yeah. And Saudi Arabia even said, "Hey, don't blame Israel. Learn from Israel how to fight terrorism. They've been doing it their entire existence. Learn from them." Yeah. Now, I know the countries in the West have allowed all these IRGC Iranian sleeper cells into their countries, and they're terrified of what happens if they join in the fun. But those sleeper cells are going to activate one way or the other. Unless you're actively trying to root them out, they're going to activate one way or the other. I mean, and the only way you can really stop them from activating is by cutting the head off the beast. And then at least the sleeper cells will activate in a not coordinated manner that probably do way less damage and you won't be able to take them out. But to say that this war was unprovoked and illegal is bad faith, beyond bad faith. It's only been 4 weeks. Again, this war started 8 Ayatollahs ago. And to say that Canada shouldn't be involved and America shouldn't be involved, well, unfortunately, we would prefer not to be involved, except for that whole death to the West thing, except for that whole let's invade other countries and propagandize their citizens and create things that and take over their political parties. That seems kind of hostile. Maybe something we should stop.
Seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran? And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us. There's never been a head of a country that wanted that job less than being the head of Iran. I don't want it. We listen to some of the things they say. We hear them very clearly. They say, I don't want it. We'd like to make you the next supreme leader. No, thank you. I don't want it.
Of course, there were those who were trying to use this clip to say Trump was saying that they offered him to be supreme leader of Iran. No, they didn't. All he's saying is that they've been so efficient at killing off Ayatollahs that nobody wants to openly be the leader in Iran. And if anybody's offered the position, they immediately say no because they don't want to die. Whether it's from their own people or from the U.S. or from Israel or from Saudi Arabia or whoever who's ever going to bomb them, as soon as they know who a leader is, they just take them out. Turns out the Iranian death cult isn't that eager to die. Shockingly, the people who held death over their own people's heads to keep them in line and said, we're all in this together, aren't actually all in it together. Are you surprised? Because I'm not surprised. In fact, I'm going to bet that these sleeper cells in Canada that we're trying to guard against also aren't all in it together and aren't all that eager to die either. Maybe the guns in the streets are exactly what's needed to keep them in their homes and show them that we're serious. But what I can be sure of is it's way less likely that they'll activate if there is no visible supreme leader to activate underneath. So, yes, I'm 100% behind this war. 100% behind it. In fact, if I was in the US, I would have voted for it. And I'm not sorry about that. Because if you want to be the peace president, you don't just say, we have peace now, and everyone listens. No. You go and you remove the obstacles to peace that exist around the world. Venezuela, Africa, Cuba, Iran. And then you show them what going to war with the US actually looks like. Yeah. And if it takes a little longer than he said it was going to take, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Should have done it 30 years ago when Israel told you to.